Kita berjumpa lagi di episode 3 dari Talk the Walk ya, yang dipersembahkan oleh Yayasan Pustaka Kelana. Perkenalkan kembali, nama saya Paul Mahesa. Pada pagi hari ini kita akan berbincang-bincang kembali di acara kita Talk the Walk ya. Sebelumnya di episode pertama kita sudah berbincang-bincang nih mengenai edukasi bahasa Inggris di Indonesia dan pengajaran bahasa Inggris bersama tamu kita Yuta dari Jepang. Lalu di episode 2 lalu kita ngobrol-ngobrol dengan Kak Lala Elmira dan komunitas One Day to Write. Dan untuk episode 3 kali ini kita akan kedatangan 2 orang tamu dan kita akan berbincang-bincang santai nih pada pagi menjelang siang hari ini mengenai literasi kesehatan dan juga mengenai literasi media. Sebelum kita mulai dengan tamu kita yang pertama, saya mau mengingatkan kepada teman-teman Puka untuk follow kami di Instagram dan Facebook Yayasan Pustaka Kelana ya, di @pustakakelana. Saat ini kami sedang mengadakan berbagai macam program kampanye dan juga kompetisi ya. Yang terbaru kami sedang mengadakan kompetisi untuk membuat komik. Jadi silahkan dicek Instagram kami untuk detailnya. Banyak hadiah-hadiah yang menarik dan juga banyak konten-konten yang menarik dan sangat yang mendidik sekali ya tentang bahasa Inggris ya, penggunaan bahasa Inggris yang baik, dan semoga kita terutama di bulan puasa kita pada bulan tahun ini kita dapat belajar banyak ya mengenai literasi ya. Besok juga merupakan Hari Pendidikan Nasional, jadi kita juga bisa belajar banyak ya melalui Instagram dan juga Facebook di Yayasan Pustaka Kelana ya. Baiklah, kita akan mulai saja langsung di Talk the Walk episode 3 kali ini. Jangan lupa bagi teman-teman Puka yang ada pertanyaan atau komentar mengenai topik kita pada hari ini, silakan disampaikan ya di live chat di YouTube supaya nanti kita bisa bahas ya. Untuk yang pertama, kami akan menyambut dulu Kak Silvera Erari atau teman saya yang saya sering panggilnya dengan Kak V. Kak V ini adalah seorang public health analyst ya. Dulu halo Kak V, menghilang videonya. Ya,
Halo.
Yes, hello Kak V, how are you?
Good, I'm good.
Good, yeah. So nice to see you finally after. I think we last met last year.
Yes.
Yes,
by the end
year.
of last year, yeah.
The end of last year, we met, and then we had a very interesting meeting to catch up. Yes. So Cafe used to be one of the recipient for the Prestasi Scholarship, yeah, from America. What did you study when you were in America?
I studied epidemiology. That's the
epidemiology.
Major. Yeah. Basically, it's public health. Part of public health.
Public health. And what did you do after you graduated? You came back to Jakarta, to Indonesia, and then you worked. So what did you do after you graduated from America?
After graduated, I think I worked for Gajah Mada University first for almost a year as an assistant researcher, and then I moved to Jakarta, work as data manager for Badan Litbangkes. Basically, it's INARESPON. So INARESPON is an organization made out of deal between US and Indonesia for their research in infectious diseases. So I work for their research as data manager.
And you really work with a lot of data, yeah, about health and public health.
Yes.
So, what about now? Where are you right now? Are you back in your hometown?
Yes, right now I'm in Rauke, spending time with my
Ooh,
family before
wow.
continue my journey.
Oh, another journey. Wow.
Yes.
So what's the journey? Where are you planning to go?
I'm going for my PhD program back in US.
Hmm. Wow. And
Yeah,
are
that's
you are
why.
you going to study public health again?
Yes, I'm going to
Yes.
doing my PhD in epidemiology program.
Wow. So that's very exciting, yeah,
Yeah.
to continue your study. Okay. Now, yes, we are going to talk about health since you've already worked with health, especially during this pandemic. From last year, yeah, throughout last year, you work in the field of public health. Now, this is a very challenging time, yeah, for
Yes.
many people, and then people also learn about many things from many information about health from different sources. So, from your experience, where do people usually get information about health? Um, is it only from social media, or where do people usually get their information about health?
I think general public, if we talk about general public community,
Hmm.
most of them gain information from social media. So
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
So it's very, what do we call it? Complicated, I guess.
Complicated,
Because
yeah.
yeah, because in social media there is no filter. Everything can be shared
Mm.
publicly. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think nowadays many people gain information from social media.
Yeah. And in terms of information from social media about the pandemic, about the virus, and
Mm-hmm.
then nowadays about vaccination, um, is it the same when you get that information before, like now during the pandemic and before there was a pandemic? Do you think that there is more information now about, do people care more about health now than it was before, or what do you think about?
Yeah, I think from my personal experience, I think people after this pandemic, people care more about health than it was done before. And
Mm-hmm,
from based on what I saw in some people, they appreciate health
mm-hmm.
worker a lot better
Yeah.
than it was before, right? Because yeah, like they thank the doctors and they thank the nurse and everybody who work on this pandemic, because this pandemic like does not only affect certain kind of people or certain type of people, but it affected everyone,
Mm.
and they
Generally,
appreciated
yeah.
teacher more. Yeah, so
Damn.
the parents struggle a lot with their kids. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
and yeah, it hits differently with everybody, and then
Yeah.
people start talking about mental health because now
Mm.
they only stay at home, and then
Yeah, yeah.
they're not socialized anymore. People spend
Yes.
more time uh, getting weight like me. And then yeah, they try to do exercise, but yeah, something like that. So people, I think they are more aware about the importance of health in their life, because
Yeah.
it also cost many lives during this pandemic, and then the hospital getting very busy. So yeah, I
Yeah.
believe this pandemic brought more attention to health than it was before.
Yeah, so brings a lot of attention, yeah, to not only like doctors and nurses or about health workers, but also to teachers, to
Yeah.
also mental health aspect also has become a very important part. People care more about these issues, yeah, more than ever. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I think we I think this is also from my experience. Many people also get a lot of misinformation, a lot of fake news, related to health. Do you have any examples of like misinformation that people get through social media about the pandemic or about the virus? Have you ever had an experience that people around you believe these fake news? And how do you
Yes.
deal with that situation?
So basically, this is my personal experience. So as nowadays we all have WhatsApp group, right? So in one of my WhatsApp group, there is this misinformation to be exact, about how the virus enter my province or certain cities. So they said it was brought by purpose to my community, to destroy the community, which is
To
very
destroy the
misleading.
community? Okay.
Yes. So it was very misleading. So I was so as a public health worker or as a health worker, I have to uh, put a certain information or certain topic into their place. So I explained to them who brought, for example, who was the carrier, and then how, because as in Papua we had our epidemiology community, so we talk about it. We try to do the contact tracing, so we don't know who like the name, because uh, they don't mention it to
Mention the
us.
source.
It's confidential information. However, we know the background story, where the person came from, what kind of activity that he or she did before, and then I try to put the information into the right place, that this is not to destroy a community, because if it is purposely put into destroy a community, it will not affect the whole world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is already affected the whole world. So
Oh,
what
yeah.
what is the point to destroy one community, I guess.
Do people
So
in your like in your community, like in your family, believe those that kind of information? If they learn
luckily
from
my
the social
mom
media?
and luckily my mom and my dad in particular is very selective about the
Okay.
information that they
That's
receive.
good.
Because they sometimes they talk to me about that, so I try to find the the website or the information, the trustful information about the issue, and then explain it to them. So in my family in particular, it's not really a big problem, because they use me as a filter for all of the information.
So that's
So
that's that's an advantage, yeah, to have
yeah,
someone who work in that field. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. But
but I witnessed many misconception going around.
mm, so maybe some people still believe in that misinformation. So
Yes.
how significant do you think the impact of like misinformation or hoaxes during the pandemic right now? What do you think? How big is that in your opinion? The effect of misinformation?
I think it's pretty huge. It's pretty huge, because many people nowadays, they don't do their research. They only believe in what they see or what they hear, and then they don't ask question why this goes certain way, or why this information mentioned about certain way. Can I find more accurate or more appropriate source of information, something like that? So for example, I just recently got into TikTok, and then I was like, oh wow, this this is a lot of misinformation. And then I was
Okay.
like, especially for
Okay.
youngers, I believe youngers, uh, they easily affected by hoax, and then
Mm,
with so many information, with fast amount of information in social media, I believe in television it's a little bit hard, because in television they have editors, and they have
yeah.
very important or expert people talking about the issue. So they have some kind of filter because it's
Yeah.
the reputation. If they put
Yeah.
some hoax or something like that, they can get into trouble. But in social media, there is no police for that. So yeah,
It's very
everything
it's very
can,
challenging, yeah.
everything
Yeah.
can put every single issues and then make twist on it. Yeah. So I think the hoax is affected many people um because when, as we can see, like many people still believe in many um what do they call conspiracy in
Oh
relates
yes.
to, in relates to
Yeah, yeah.
um COVID. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the impact is pretty big. Yeah.
Big, yeah. Nowadays, even celebrities or public figures have become more active in sharing health information. They're not
Mhm.
medical experts. How much do you think we should believe non-medical experts when they share information about health?
I think when it's come to belief or disbelief is pretty, it's
Subjective.
pretty difficult. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
depends
Mm.
because sometimes they can tell the truth or the accurate information, sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So to be pointing finger to one, for example, one celebrity that always put wrong information, it's
Mm-hmm,
difficult because nowadays, I mean, they have a lot of followers. To be
yeah.
honest, in this social media era, they
Era.
have a lot
Mm.
of followers. Many people
Mm-hmm.
watching them. So sometimes it is a good thing if they spread the
Mm-hmm.
appropriate or accurate information. However,
Mm-hmm.
with maybe with little knowledge about the issues, sometimes it can
Mm-hmm.
be tricky also. So I personally suggest, if there is an information from a celebrity or a public figure that they put out there in social media, always do your research. Always check with the accurate. For example, always check with WHO website. Always check with the
Mm.
Kementerian Kesehatan website, Ministry of Health website. Always check with CDC website. Is what they say is in the similar line or accurate or in the same way as this organization, because this organization always, before they put any information, they always do research before that.
Yeah.
There is a big team behind a certain information, so they cannot
Of course.
mislead. Yeah, they should not mislead people. Yeah, they can be
Okay.
trusted.
Yeah, so that means even after you learn about information, you have to cross check it with
Yes.
reliable sources. Yeah? So you
Yeah,
don't
be
just take.
critical.
Be critical. That's very important. That's a very important key. Be critical, everyone. Okay. Now, nowadays, speaking of, let's move on. Talking about pandemic. Nowadays, we are going forward to vaccination. A lot of government,
Mhm.
including our own government, now they have started the rollout for vaccination. But many people still have doubts, hesitation about the vaccine because you have people said that we don't know if it's tested or not and everything. What do you think is the best way to convince people to get the vaccination?
I think the best way to convince people is by educating them, because
Hmm.
we it is hard for forcing, and it is not ethical to force people to get
Yeah.
vaccinated. Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah. So I think giving more accurate information about the benefit of vaccine, and then what is the side effect, and then
Mm.
what it will help to uh to a bigger context. For example, what they will contribute to the community, because if I get vaccinated, uh indirectly I contribute to the health of community because I'm a part of community. So it is very important for not only health worker, but for everybody to get uh, uh correct information about vaccination, and then help others to get vaccinated. Because as we know, I think up until now, we can get a lot of help from vaccination. Hopefully, we can get back to a little bit normality after a certain amount of people get vaccinated. So yeah,
Okay.
I believe,
Yes.
yeah, I believe more people should get vaccinated.
Yeah. And now, I while I was preparing this um, material for this talk show, I tried to learn more about the misinformation, about the myths, about
Mhm.
vaccination, about the pandemic in general. Now, I have found several statements that
Mhm.
might cause some confusion or doubts among people. Now, maybe you can clarify some of these myths from for
I
us a little
tried.
bit. Let's try. Let's try. Let's try. So, first things first. Let's start with the first one. The vaccine could cost people a lot of money.
I would say yes, but not people's money, but country's
Yeah,
money,
the country's
which is
money.
people's money. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be exact, personally, now,
Mm-hmm.
I've I have never had the chance to get vaccinated, and I'm still
Mm-hmm.
hoping for get one. Yeah, but
Yes,
my parents,
hopefully.
yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm waiting for my turn. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
my parents, they get vaccinated. Yeah, and it's free for them.
Mm-hmm.
when
But
when something is free, someone you should pay for it. Yeah, and the country pay for it. So
the
as
can.
community, we have to uh, so it's a myth if you if, for example, if you
Mm-hmm.
civil servant, because civil
Mm-hmm.
servant, teacher, they health worker, they are priority and it's free for them, but the country should pay for it. So if you are in the category to be vaccinated, or the category to be prioritized vaccinated, please get some.
Get vaccinated.
Yes,
Okay.
get
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Okay. What about this one?
It's expensive,
Mm.
but country pay for it.
So you don't have to actually
Yes,
spend directly the money. Yeah?
yes.
What about the second one? Let's go to the second one. People who have already had the virus, COVID-19, they don't need to be vaccinated. Is that true?
I don't think so, because
Mm.
based on what I learned from WHO website and also from the CDC, actually the researcher hasn't been determined yet how long
Mm-mm.
the antibody from the coronavirus infection
Mm-mm.
can protect the
Mm-mm.
people who were infected by coronavirus. So they still recommend certain people who already get infected by coronavirus to still get
Mm.
vaccinated to improve
Mm.
their protection, because
Mm.
um because up until now they still don't know how long the effect or the antibody from the infection can last.
Okay.
So I
All
think
right.
it's very important to still get vaccinated. But
Yes.
please talk to the doctor first
The
before you get
doctor.
vaccinated, because there is a certain procedure has to be done before the vaccination.
Yeah. What about this one? Young and healthy people don't need to get vaccinated. Do you agree with that?
I no, I don't.
No. So
No,
even though
I
you're still
don't.
young, you're still healthy, you
Yes.
still need to get vaccinated.
Yeah, because
Mm.
before the vaccination, we already had a lot of people with no symptoms. So
Mm.
younger people can carry the infections without the symptoms.
Mm.
So if they don't feel sick, they maybe feel like they're okay. However, they can
Mm.
infect it to their elders. So for example, they
Mm.
can hang out in a cafe and then get infected, and then get home and then give it to their parents, and their parents who are the one that will get very sick because of maybe their disease complication and something like that. So I don't think if you are healthy, you don't get to young and healthy, you don't get vaccinated. Please get
Mm,
vaccinated so you can
okay.
protect yourself and you can protect your elders.
Yes. Let's do one more. There are still many long-term side effects of the vaccines that we don't know. It's still a mystery. So, do you think that should be a problem when people feel that, oh, there might be long-term side effects of the vaccine?
Yeah, this is the thing about coronavirus. Coronavirus is very new. It's
Mm-hmm,
very
mm-hmm,
new. This is a new infection, which
mm-hmm,
unfortunately has bigger impact than any other infection before. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think when it comes to long term effect, it's still uh, unknown, but the
Mm,
researchers is working for it. To see long term effect, we have to be able to do long term research, right? Now we only
mm-hmm.
enter
Yeah.
in the second year of coronavirus, so I think it is if we say it's a myth, it can be a fact. If we say it's a fact, it can be a myth. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think for now on, we can only act based on what we have, what
Yeah.
information we have right now. So it is very important to still keep doing whatever the experts say because this
Mm-hmm,
virus
mm-hmm,
is new. Yeah, for
mm-hmm,
example, tuberculosis has been in here for many, many years,
mm.
but still it's still hard to handle. Yeah. So coronavirus is one of the newest and biggest affected the world. So yeah, I think to mention it's in long run, it's still very difficult. But what the best thing we can do is still follow the health protocol that mentioned by
Yeah.
the experts.
So it's very important to learn from the reliable experts,
Yes.
and then don't believe easily on what people share, but also get more information. Yeah, get
Yes.
information. Okay, all right. Thank you, Faye,
Thank
for our
you.
sharing. But don't go anywhere for now. We're going to call
Yes.
our next guest. Baik, jangan lupa teman-teman Puka kalau ada pertanyaan silahkan sampaikan di live chat kita kalau ada pertanyaan tentang uh, literasi kesehatan atau tentang informasi mungkin tentang informasi mengenai vaksinasi atau yang masih ada yang pengen tahu curious gitu ya, ada yang penasaran mengenai kesehatan, silahkan sampaikan di live chat. Kita akan panggil tamu kita yang kedua dulu, um, yaitu Mas Syifa, yang kita akan bicara mengenai media literasi. Baru nanti kita akan kembali lagi dengan Kak Faye. Hi Syifa, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. Long time no see. Long time no.
Yep. I don't think so.
Yeah. I think 2 years ago. It's a long
No,
time.
no, it was last year before the
Was
pandemic.
it?
Yes.
Before the pandemic, we saw each other before the pandemic.
Yes, exactly.
So that was, yeah, but still, it feels like a long time ago during this. Can you imagine? It was just the pandemic only last has only lasted for like 1 year, but it
Yes.
feels like for so many years. So what are you up to? So by the way, for your information, Puka Pals, Syifa was also one of my students before when we prepare him to go to America to study. So what did you study in America?
I did my master degree in
Mm-hmm.
communication and development studies at
Wow,
Ohio
communication.
University. Yes.
Ohio University, representing Ohio University. And what about now? What are you up to right now?
Currently, I'm the communication officer of the AHA Center. So, for any of you who never heard before about the AHA Center, is the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management. So it's
Whoa,
one
that's
of
a very long
the
name.
yeah. So it's one of the centers of the ASEAN.
One of the centers
Yeah.
for ASEAN. How long have you worked in AHA Center?
It's been almost a year actually.
It's been almost a year. It's been almost a year. So you actually started working during the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
During the pandemic.
So in my office, we call actually the COVID generation.
COVID generation. That is very, very interesting. Yes. So I just talked with our friend Silvera, and then we talked about health literacy, but also we learned about how different kinds of information can, we can learn a lot of information, different kinds of information. Maybe it's correct information or maybe misleading information from the social media. And in your opinion, working as a communication officer, and you learn about communication, how important is media literacy, do you think, for people to learn?
The answer is very important, right? But before talking about that, I just want to say that fake news or hoax actually is not something new. So if you read some articles on the on Google or anywhere, so you will find out that fake news and hoax actually it happened long time ago. For example, like in 1977, if you remember, there was a fake news about alien in England. So at that time, so it's just brief story, so at that time, there is like something like announcement. So, and it's publicly, saying that, oh, there is an alien and, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, one of the television broadcast that, that news, that information. And then people started to believe that. So can you imagine, like at that time, there was no social media, there was no internet, and then people only believe to the media, the mainstream media that is that was TV. So it was a long time ago, and then up until now, we still can find it like more and more. So is it important to learn about or to understand about media literacy? Yes, it is. So the media literacy is actually how we as the audience to identify, and understand the content of the news. So it's very important to understand and, to identify the news itself.
Yeah. So it's very important. But have you ever had any experience like that, especially during this pandemic, with people around you? We talk about what Faye about the situation in her context. What about you? What about maybe your family members or your friends believe in certain information about the pandemic or maybe something else? How do you deal with that situation?
So I think every one of us also has the same experience. Like the Faye also mentioned earlier that this coronavirus is something new. So at that time, if you remember last year when the first time we had the PSBB, and then the government also started to close all of the public facilities and everything, and then a lot of information flooding our social media feed, right? Especially on our WhatsApp group and family WhatsApp groups, right? So including me, because I didn't had any reference earlier about this pandemic, and then in our WhatsApp group a lot of things happen. For example, like if you put what do you call that, minyak kayu putih, like in
medicated
your nose
oil.
Yes, something like that, and then it will protect you from the virus, something like that. And then like I started to browse on on internet and then on Google, and then it's still debatable actually at that time, or even up until now it's still debatable. Some researchers says that so the minyak kayu putih, the eucalyptus, is actually effective in some way, but some researchers they say, oh no, there is no proof until now. So it's just something like that. And I think a lot of other examples, on our daily life.
And do you have any simple, practical tips on how to spot fake news or or hoaxes in social media, especially? And maybe just like, oh, this is the sign of unreliable information on social media.
Well, from the perspective of the media, it's actually very easy to spot for those who already understand or those who already learn about the media literacy. So just look at the resource. If that news or that information not coming from the reliable source, for example, let's say from kompas.com or detik.com or Kumparan. So you need to be careful, and then you need to ask yourself and be critical. And then the second one, if you still doubt about that information, very easy, just Google it.
Just Google it.
Yeah, just Google it and then type the keywords. And then if there are a lot of news agencies also write the same articles, so that could be reliable. That could be trustful. But if there is no like mainstream media, there is no reliable resources appear on your Google, so that's most of like almost 100% fake news. So it's very easy. And then also if you learn about the media literacy, I think in Indonesia we have Dewan Pers, and then they already publish some guidance or guidelines how to spot the fake news. And then it's very easy. So just check if that coming from online media. So you need to go to the About section on the website, and then you will find if there is a legal status of the media. So that can be trustful resources. But if there is no address, there is no legal thing, so we must be very careful.
We should be careful.
Yes,
you should always question that source.
Right. And why? It's because if they have legal status, if the news or information they publish is wrong, so it's very easy for us to just, for example, sue or to complain. But if there is no legal status, we cannot do anything.
You cannot do anything. That's true. That's true.
So that's why the advice from the Dewan Pers and media, always trust the mainstream media first, right? Sometimes they make mistakes, yes, but once they make mistakes, we can easily correct them. We can easily sue, for example, something like that. Yeah.
So there's always a legal standing for mainstream idea rather than social media. That should be always questioned. Always you have to be critical. Looking at that information. And what do you think people should do? Like what you experience when they learn about information from WhatsApp group or and then you found out that this is fake news. Do you think it's because a lot of people hesitate in calling out, this is wrong, because maybe the group consists of your elders or your family members. Should we call this out if there's a misinformation? This is wrong, or people just like, okay, let's just ignore it. And then, do you think it's okay to call out on people?
That's very tricky question. Yeah, I honestly, it's a bit confusing actually. I would say. But again, if you find out something like that in WhatsApp group, first thing that you need to do is actually do not reshare. Just keep it there. Just keep it there.
Okay. Keep it contained.
Yes. Because once you reshare to other groups, and then it will be massively spread out.
Yeah.
And then the second one, okay, if you have the goods or you have eager to clarify on that group, so please do. For example, like provide any other resources that is reliable. So just share of course with more polite language, yeah, because we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
older people.
Yeah.
We have our
I
relatives
understand.
over there, so it's with more diplomatic or polite language. So that's, I think, what
Yeah,
we can do right now.
yeah. So at least you don't let it spread out more. Eh? So
Right.
just keep it there. Yeah.
Yes.
So and then do your research, and then later
Right.
after that, try
You
to
know.
maybe
You
have
know.
a. Hmm?
Yeah, because sometimes, like people, when they reshare the information, they will say like, I just reshare from different WhatsApp groups, so it's not my opinion. So they excuse actually themselves. So
Yeah.
that's they excuse themselves actually. So it's better for
Yeah.
not resharing anything that is not like not trustful.
Now, what about like you mentioned you started working in your office during the pandemic. You were called the COVID generation. Nowadays, a lot of children are growing up becoming this living in that kind of generation.
Right.
What do you think? What about parents with young children now who are very uh, exposed to social media with they have a lot of accounts from Twitter, Instagram, TikTok with different sources. Do you think that parents should limit the use of social media for younger children nowadays, or it's okay that they get as much as information, but there are things that parents should do to educate their young children? What do you think is
Yeah.
the best way to educate
Right.
children?
Right. Based on my experience, actually, this is my experience when I was in the US, and then
Mm.
I used to live with a family, right? So
Mm.
um, in the US, it's very common for parents to limit their children with the social media, and also
Mm.
it can happen also actually in Indonesia, because YouTube channel or social
Mm.
media, they have a
Mm.
section over there that will limit the information based on the age. So for
Mm.
example, like when you have YouTube account, so you can set up for children, something like that, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
then I also believe that for social media, to register and to get an account, you have to be over 18 actually, right?
Yeah.
So the control is actually in the parents.
Mm. Mm.
So 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 I agree, if parents also limit their children to get information or to access social media, or if that's not possible, um, we call it monitoring, right? So
Monitoring.
so parents should know their social media account, and then after that, always check regularly what are the contents, and then who are their friends, something like that. So because social media should be for over 18, not for
So you
children.
so you think that parents should be more restrictive in
Yeah,
limiting.
it's parental advice, yeah. Like
Mm.
on TV, is actually also you can find out for 18 plus and then 13 plus, something like that.
Mm. Okay. All right. And what about you talk about the context in America. What about in Indonesia? Do you think that parents or educational institution in Indonesia have done enough to educate young children about media literacy, or what do you suggest parents should do in encouraging children to be more critical and learning about information?
I think in Indonesia, I haven't found out any research yet about that, or maybe I haven't read that. But as far as I know, in my community, I think it's
Mm.
quite good right now.
Mm.
Some parents, they're already aware of how to protect their children from social
Mm.
media. Um,
Mm.
in Indonesia context, I think, so parents should provide their advice, like and guidance to their children, and then this is not good for you, and then this is good for you, so you can do it, or you can read that information, something like that. Also, I think in some areas in Indonesia, we also already have some, what do you call that? Like Netflix or Disney or something like
streaming
that,
services.
Right? Streaming services. So it's very easy to control actually, rather than watching TV. So that's I think another way how we filter the information for children.
Okay. Anyway, we have some questions. We have actually a question from for you, Syifa, about media literacy. From your observation, from your experience, you don't have to share anything confidential or anything, but from your observation, the question is from Chu Ing, I guess. Chu Wing, compared to that of other ASEAN countries, what do you think of Indonesia's media literacy level, the rate? Do you think we already have good, or do we still have to improve the rate of media literacy? This is from your work in that center, or maybe your observation.
I think it's based on my observation, because I learned and also I read some information related to that. Indonesia is actually not too bad, compared to other ASEAN member states. For example, if we compare to Thailand, Philippines, or Malaysia, we're almost at the same level. But I think the best one is Singapore, because of the level of education, the economic status, or something like that. But again, Indonesia is very interesting because the most active users of social media is Indonesia. It's not only in ASEAN, but I think in the world, for Twitter, we used to be in the rank 3, I guess, in the world. And then for Facebook also, if I'm not mistaken, in rank 3 or 2 in the world. So it's very interesting that we, as a big country, we also have the most active user. On the other hand, people also start now learning how to consume like more better and proper information for themselves. Although, last time we heard that Microsoft also did a research regarding the what do you call that? The behavior of our netizen, right? So it's I haven't read the exact research about the media literacy, but as far as I know and my observation, I think we are not too bad compared to other ASEAN member states.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Syifa. Let's call Kak Faye first before we have some questions for both Syifa and Faye. Hi, Faye. We have some questions here. One is from Matea Agata. In your opinion, as a public health analyst, what can the government do differently to better educate the people about the vaccination program? This is related to the vaccination program because, what do you think the government can do differently to better educate the citizens about vaccination program?
I think.
Sorry, Faye, your sound. Sorry, your audio is not connected. Or
really? Can you hear me?
No, still no.
Still.
But try to connect your.
Hi, can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now?
I still cannot.
Wait.
I think it's clear, crystal clear.
Okay.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. Someone say they can hear me.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So,
okay.
Paul, can you hear me?
Because wait a sec. Maybe it's my problem. It's me with
the
problem.
I think it's your internet connection.
Yeah, I'm good. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
I can hear you
Yeah.
clearly.
My
Okay.
bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So basically, I believe
Mm,
that government can do better
mm,
um, because even though that I mentioned many people can access to social media or any information
mm,
online,
mm,
there are still many people in remote area, for example in Papua, that don't have that kind of privilege, if I can say, to access to media to know better about the vaccination. So I believe with the help of other institution or other uh, NGOs, they can do
mm.
a lot better. However, we also has to realize that this effort will cost money, because if they
Okay.
want to do the campaign,
Mm,
they will need people to work on that campaign, and then they need money for that, and then
mm,
they need to put a lot of effort. So I believe they can do a lot better, or they can do differently. However, now they should put everything into the consideration, which one is
mm,
priority and which one is
mm,
not. So um I believe they should encourage other communities to help other people. For example,
yeah.
encourage people who promote promote information, reliable information to people, so that they can share to their relative or maybe elders that do not use the internet, or they do not use the social media. So I think we together with the government can do a lot more and better
Mm.
to help with this vaccination campaign.
Yes. And we have another question from Tia. This is from Tia from Balikpapan.
Yeah.
She has a question about, as a health worker, how challenging is it for you to educate the people within your circle to warn them about misleading information regarding the COVID-19?
It's pretty challenging, to be
It's
honest,
really challenging.
because yeah, because as I mentioned,
Mm,
even though my parents use me as a filter, but I cannot I cannot check their phone 24/7 for that misinformation for them to read. So yeah, it's
mm,
pretty challenging, especially when it comes to family member or elders in our family, like big family, for uncle, aunt, and then grandpa, grandma, and
mm,
also yeah, the younger people itself. It's pretty challenging, but every time I heard they mention something, or they comment, or they ask question, I always do my part, do my research, find reliable information, try to find correct information, and let them know.
mm, mm. All right. All right. Thank you, Faye.
And
Now,
I'm
Shifa,
not
we have
I'm
a,
not talking
yeah.
about I'm 100% sure with this information, or this information
Mm,
is 100% correct, because this, as I mentioned, uh this pandemic or this disease is still new, so people still learning about it. So when the times comes or something change based on the research, we cannot say that we separate or wrong information before. We just don't know yet.
okay. All right. Thank you, Faye. Now, I have another question here for Syifa. Um, Mas Syifa, how can we encourage our younger generation, especially Gen Z, Generation Z, to participate in advocating health literacy?
Okay, so I think there is also another question, yeah,
Mm-mm.
before that. Okay, so
Yeah.
first, okay, how we can encourage our, so it's actually very challenging, yeah, as Faye mentioned earlier. It's also
Mm.
very challenging for us. But again, we do have social media, and most of the Gen Z, they're on social media. What we can do is actually how to encourage them to create uh, content that is based on the research, based on
Mm-hmm.
the facts. So just things like that. I think with their creativity, they can do better. to to package the information to the public, because they have their own creativity for Gen Z. And then the second one, I think, again, from the parents. So parents should really what do you call that? Pay attention to what their children are doing right now, and then again, provide any inputs if their children want to make a content. So parents also provide advice and then assisting. Like we can see, like for example, some parents, they do TikTok with their children, right? So that kind of things, I think, when we care about health, for example, and then let's just ask our children, like, hey, why don't we create a content about, let's say, how to wear masks properly, something like that, with your own creativity. So that's kind of public health literacy, one of the examples, actually. So it's quite challenging, but it's also easy for us to do, because we have the platform already.
Yeah. And also there's a question about, a lot of people feel that, what about doing a social media cleansing, not to use social media for a week? Do you encourage that? Do you think it's a good thing or not?
Actually, I prefer to use the term detoxification. So it's I think it's better than using cleansing. Because a lot of people actually already do media detoxification, not the social media, but media in general, because a lot of fake news, a lot of information coming from so many resources, and then people decided, okay, for 1 week I don't want to read anything, I don't want to access internet, I don't want to access social media. So that's totally fine, and that's totally okay, especially for your mental health, because I think every single person, they have their own way how to relieve stress, for example, how they have to deal with stress. So social media detox is actually one of the solution how to maintain your mental health. So I totally agree if anyone wants to do social media detox or media detox.
Have you ever done it?
I did actually.
Oh, really?
So, but it's only for Facebook, because like different social media platform, actually it has different characteristic, different audience. So on Facebook, like a lot of fake news, a lot of hoax coming on our social media, and then I decided to deactivate it for, I think, almost 1 month. And then
wow.
And then it was totally fine. It was totally okay. And then I feel so relieved. So yes.
Free of toxic content.
but now I cannot do that, because my private Facebook also linked to my official office.
Your work, your office. Okay. Oh wow. So we learned a lot. Yes. So thank you very much, Syifa and Faye. Faye, how are you? Where are you again? Anyway, wait, you're gone again. Yes.
I'm here.
Okay. Wow. It's been an honor. It's been fun talking with you guys. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya di Talk the Walk kita pada pagi hari ini. Terima kasih teman-teman Fuka yang sudah memberi pertanyaan dan juga sudah menyaksikan episode kita. Dan di episode ini kita belajar ya bahwa memang masih banyak informasi, tapi yang penting kita harus selalu critical, ya, selalu kritis, dan juga tadi seperti yang Kak Syifa juga terakhir bilang, harus ada kolaborasi nih antara orang tua dan juga anak-anak yang kreatif untuk membuat konten-konten yang mendidik, ya, yang juga encouraging. Ya, kita juga mendorong orang tua untuk mendorong anaknya untuk selalu belajar mencari informasi tambahan, ya, untuk selalu meningkatkan tingkat literasi media dan juga kesehatan. Baik, terima kasih Sekali lagi Kak Syifa dan Cafe.